Time object is a single object containing all the information from a date object and a time object. Like a date object, date time assumes the current Gregorian calendar extended in both directions. Like a time object, date time assumes there are exactly 3600 multiplied by 24 seconds in every day. Constructor class datetime.datetime, year, month, day, hour is equal to 0, minute is equal to 0, second is equal to 0, microsecond is equal to 0, tz info is equal to none, star fold is equal to 0. The year, month and day arguments are required. Tz info may be none or an instance of tz info subclass. The remaining arguments must be integers in the following ranges: mean year less than equal to year less than equal to max year, 1 less than equal to month less than equal to 12, 1 less than equal to day less than equal to number of days in the given month and year, 0 less than equal to hour less than 24, 0 less than equal to minute less than 60, 0 less than equal to second less than 60, 0 less than equal to microsecond less than 1000000, fold in 0 to 1 range. If an argument outside those ranges is given, value error is raised. Other constructors, all class methods. Class method datetime.today, return the current local date time with tz info none, equivalent to datetime.from timestamp time.time. See also now from timestamp. This method is functionally equivalent to now but without a tz parameter. Class method datetime dot now, tz is equal to none, return the current local date and time. If optional argument tz is none or is not specified, this is like today, but if possible supplies more precision than can be gotten from going through a time.time timestamp. For example, this may be possible on platforms supplying the C get time of day function. If tz is not none, it must be an instance of tz info subclass and the current date and time are converted to tz's time zone. This function is preferred over today and UTC now. Class method datetime.utc now, return the current UTC date and time with tz info none. This is like now but returns the current UTC date and time as a new date and time object, and aware current UTC date time can be obtained by calling datetime.now timezone.utc. See also now. Warning: because new datetime objects are treated by many datetime methods as local times, it is preferred to use aware date times to represent times in UTC. As such, the recommended way to create an object representing the current time in UTC is by calling datetime.now timezone.utc. Let's see the example. Example 6. Import datetime.date, from datetime import datetime zone, import time zone UTC 24 1 17 4 54 56. Okay. Class method datetime dot from timestamp comma tz is equal to none, return the local date and time corresponding to the POSIX timestamp such as is returned by time.time. If optional argument tz is none or not specified, the timestamp is converted to the platform's local date and time, and the return date and date time object is new. If tz is not none, it must be an instance of tz info subclass and the timestamp is converted to tz's time zone. From timestamp may raise overflow error if the timestamp is out of the range of values supported by the platform C local time or GM time functions, and OS error on local time or GM time failure. It's common for this to be restricted to years in 1970 through 2038. Note that in non-POSIX systems that include leap seconds in their notion of a timestamp. Leap seconds are ignored by from timestamp, and then it's possible to have two timestamps differing by a second that yield identical datetime objects. This method is preferred over UTC from timestamp. Changed inversion raise overflow error instead of value error if the timestamp is out of the range of values supported by the platform C local time or GM time functions. Raise OS error instead of value error on local time or GM time failure. Class method. Datetime.utc from timestamp. Return the UTC datetime corresponding to the POSIX timestamp with TZ info none. The resulting object is new. This may raise overflow error if the timestamp is out of the range of values supported by the platform C GM time function and OS error on GM time failure. It's common for this to be restricted to years in 1970 through 2038 to get an aware datetime object called from timestamp. Datetime dot from timestamp timezone dot utc. On POSIX compliant platforms, it is equivalent to the following expression: datetime 1970, 1, tz info is equal to timezone dot utc plus time delta seconds is equal to timestamp. Except the latter formula always supports the full years range between mean year and max year inclusive. Warning: because new datetime objects are treated by many datetime methods as local times, it is preferred to use aware datetimes to represent times in UTC. As such, the recommended way to create an object representing a specific timestamp in UTC is by calling datetime.from timestamp, tz is equal to timezone.utc. Class method.datetime.from ordinal. Return the datetime corresponding to the proleptic Gregorian ordinal, where January 1 of year 1 has ordinal 1. Value error is raised unless 1 less than equal to ordinal less than equal to datetime.max.to ordinal method. The hour, minute, second, and microsecond of the result are all 0 and tz info is none. Class method datetime.combine date time tz info is equal to time dot tz info. Return a new datetime object whose date components are equal to the given date objects and whose time components are equal to the given time object. If the tzinfo argument is provided, its value is used to set the tzinfo attribute of the result. Otherwise, the tzinfo attribute of the time argument is used. If the date argument is a datetime object, its time components and tzinfo attributes are ignored. For any datetime object d is equal to datetime dot combined d dot date comma d dot time comma d dot tzinfo. Class method datetime dot from ISO format. Date underscore string. Return a date time corresponding to a date string in any valid ISO 8601 format with the following exceptions. Time zone offsets may have fractional seconds. The T of separator may be replaced by any single Unicode character. Ordinal dates are not currently supported. Fractional hours and minutes are not supported. Examples: from datetime import datetime. Datetime dot from ISO format 2011 11 04. Datetime dot datetime 2011 11400. Datetime dot from ISO format 2011 1104. Datetime dot datetime 2011 11400. Datetime dot from ISO format 2011 11 04 capital T 00 colon 05 colon 23. Datetime dot datetime 2011 11 40523. Datetime dot from ISO format 2011 11 04 T 00 colon 05 colon 23 Z. Datetime dot datetime 2011 11 40523. TZ info is equal to datetime dot timezone dot UTC. Date time dot from ISO format 2011 11 04 T 000523. datetime to 01111400523. Datetime dot from ISO format 2011 hyphen W 01 hyphen 2 T00 colon 05 colon 23 dot 283. Datetime 2011140523 283000. Datetime dot from ISO format 2011 hyphen 11 hyphen 0400500523.283. Datetime 2011 11400523 datetime dot from ISO format 2011 1104000523 plus 00 colon 00. Datetime 2011 11040523 tz info is equal to datetime dot timezone dot tc. Datetime dot from ISO format 2011 1104 T000523 plus 0400. Datetime 2011 11400523 tz info is equal to datetime dot timezone datetime dot time delta seconds is equal to 14400. This all the examples are here in example 5 file. Let me run it. Here is the class method. Datetime dot from ISO calendar year week day. Return a date time corresponding to the ISO calendar date specified by year, week, and day. The non-date components of the date time are populated with their normal default values. This is the inverse of the function datetime.iso calendar. Class method datetime.strptime date string format. Return a date time corresponding to date string parsed according to the format. If format does not contain microseconds or time zone information, this is equivalent to date time pointer time.strptime date string format 0 to 6. Value error is raised if the date is string and format can't be parsed by time.strptime or if it returns a value which is not a time tuple. See also strftime and strptime behavior and datetime.from ISO format. Class attributes. Datetime.mean the earliest representable datetime mean year 1 tz info is equal to none. Datetime.max the latest representable datetime max year 12 31 23 59 59 999 999. Datetime.resolution the smallest possible difference between non-equal datetime objects. Time delta microseconds is equal to 1. Instance attributes read only. Datetime.year between mean year and max year inclusive. Datetime.month between 1 and 12 inclusive. Datetime.date between 1 and the number of days in the given month of the given year. Datetime.hour in range 24. Datetime.minute in range 60. Datetime.second in range 60. Datetime.microsecond in range this. Let's print this range. Example 6. Print range. It will print 999999. 0 and this. For I in range this, print I plus space let's print I. And is equal to this 999 and starting will be 0. comment it out because it's a time complex example. Okay. datetime.tzinfo. The object passed as the tzinfo argument to the datetime constructor or none if none was passed. Datetime.fold in 0 1 used to disambiguate wall times during a repeated interval. A repeated interval occurs when clocks are rolled back at the end of daylight saving time or when the UTC offset for the current zone is decreased for political reasons. The value 0 1 represents the earlier later of the two moments with the same wall time representation. Supported operations. Date time 2 is equal to date time 1 plus time delta. Date time 2 is equal to date time 1 minus time delta. Time delta is equal to date time 1 minus date time 2. Date time 1 less than date time 2. Datetime 2 is a duration of time delta removed from datetime 1, moving forward in time if time delta dot days greater than 0 or backward if time delta dot days less than 0. The result has the same tz info attribute as the input date time and date time 2 minus date time 1 equal time delta after. Overflow error is raised if date time 2 dot year would be smaller than mean year or larger than max year. Note that no time zone adjustments are done even if the input is an aware object. Computes the date time 2 such that date time 2 plus time delta is equal to date time 1. As for addition, the result has the same tz info attribute as the input date time and no time zone adjustments are done even if the input is aware. Subtraction of date time from a date time is defined only if both operands are naive or if both are aware. If one is aware and the other is naive, type error is raised. If both are naive or both are aware and have the same tz info attribute, the tz info attributes are ignored and the result is a time delta object t such that date time 2 plus t is equal to date time 1. No time zone adjustments are done in this case. If both are aware and have different tz info attributes, a minus b acts as if a and B were first converted to naive UTC date times first. The result is A dot replace TZ info is equal to none minus A dot UTC offset minus B dot replace TZ info is equal to none and B dot UTC offset except that the implementation never overflows. Datetime 1 is considered less than datetime 2 when datetime 1 precedes datetime 2 in time. If one compared is naive and the other is aware, type error is raised if an order comparison is attempted. For equality comparison, naive instances are never equal to aware instances. If both if both comparants are aware and have the same tz info attribute, the common tz info attribute is ignored and the base date times are compared. If both comparants are aware and have different tz info attributes, the comparants are first adjusted by subtracting their UTC offsets obtained for self.utc offset. Note: in order to stop comparison from falling back to the default scheme of comparing object addresses, datetime comparison normally raises type error if the other comparand is not also a datetime object. However, not implemented is returned instead if the other comparand has a time tuple attribute. This hook gives other kinds of date objects a chance at implementing mixed type comparison. If not, when a datetime object is compared to an object of a different type, type error is raised unless the comparison is equal or not equal. The later cases return false or true respectively. Instance methods: datetime.date return date object with same year, month and day. Datetime.time return time object with same hour, minute, second, microsecond and fold. TZ info is none. See also method time TZ. datetime.time.tz return time object with the same hour, minute, second, microsecond, fold and tz info attributes. See also method time. Date time dot replace year is equal to self dot year, month is equal to self dot month, day is equal to self dot day, hour is equal to self dot hour, minute is equal to self dot minute, second is equal to self dot second, microsecond is equal to self dot microsecond, tz info is equal to self dot tz info, star fold is equal to 0. Return a date time with the same attributes except for those attributes given new lines by whichever keyword arguments are specified. Note that tzinfo is equal to none can be specified to create a new date time from an aware date time with no conversion of date and time data. Datetime dot as time zone tz is equal to none. Return a datetime object with new tz info attribute tz, adjusting the date and time data so the result is same UTC times as self, but in tz's local time, if provided. TZ must be an instance of a TZ info subclass and its UTC offset and DST methods must not return none. If self is naive, it is presumed to represent time in the system time zone. If called without arguments or with TZ is equal to none, the system local time zone is assumed for the target time zone. The .tz info attribute of the converted datetime instance will be set to an instance of time zone with the zone name and offset obtained from the OS. If self.tz info is tz, self.as time zone tz is equal to self, no adjustment of date or time data is performed, else the result is local time in the time zone tz, representing the same UTC time as self. After as tz, dt dot s time zone tz astz minus astz dot utc offset will have the same date and time data as dt minus dt dot utc offset. If you merely want to attach a time zone object tz to a date time dt without adjustment of date and time data, use dt dot replace tz info is equal to tz. If you merely want to remove the time zone object from an aware time zone dt without conversion of date and time data, use dt dot replace tz info is equal to none. Note that the default tzinfo dot from UTC method can be overridden in tzinfo subclass to affect the result returned by as time zone, ignoring error cases as time zone acts like diff as time zone self tz. If self.tzinfo is tz, return self. Convert self to UTC and attach the new time zone object. UTC is equal to self minus self.utc offset dot replace tzinfo tz. Convert from UTC to tz's local time. Return tz dot from UTC UTC. Datetime.utc offset. The tz, if tz info is none, returns none, else returns self.tzinfo.utc offset self, and raises an exception if the latter doesn't return none or a time delta object with magnitude less than 1 day. Datetime.dst. If tzinfo is none, returns none, else returns self.tzinfo.dst self, and raises an exception if the latter doesn't return none or a time delta object with magnitude less than 1 day. Datetime.tzName. If tzinfo is none, returns none, else returns self.tzinfo.tzName self, raises an exception if the latter doesn't return none or a string object. Datetime.timetuple. Return a time.struct time such as returned by time.local time. D.timetuple is equivalent to time.struct time d.year, d.month, d.date, d.hour, d.minute, d.second, d.weekday, yday, dst, where yday is equal to d dot 2 ordinal minus date dot d dot year 1 1 dot 2 ordinal method plus 1 is the day number within the current year starting with 1 for January 1st. The tm underscore is dst flag of the result is set according to the dst method. Tzinfo is none or dst returns none. Tm underscore is dst is set to -1, else if DST returns a non-zero value. TM underscore is DST is set to 1, else TM underscore is DST is set to 0. Datetime.utc time tuple. If datetime instance d is naive, this is the same as d.timetuple except that tm underscore is dst is forced to 0 regardless of what d.dst returns. Dst is never in effect for a utc time. If d is aware, d is normalized to utc time by subtracting d.utc offset and a time.struct time for the normalized time is returned. Tm underscore is dst is forced to 0. Note that an overflow error may be raised if t dot year was mean year or max year and UTC adjustment spills over a year boundary. Warning: because naive datetime objects are treated by many datetime methods as local times, it is preferred to use aware datetimes to represent times in UTC. As a result, using datetime.utc timetable may give misleading results. If you have a naive datetime representing UTC, use datetime.replace tzinfo is equal to timezone.utc to make it aware, at which point you can use datetime.timetable. Datetime.to ordinal. Return the proleptic Gregorian ordinal of the state, the same as self.date.to ordinal. Datetime.timestamp. Return POSIX timestamp corresponding to the datetime instance. The return value is a float similar to that returned by time.time. Naive datetime instances are assumed to represent local time, and this method relies on the platform CMAC-MKTime function to perform the conversion. Since datetime supports wider range of values than MakeTime MKTime on many platforms, this method may raise overflow error or OS error for times far in the past or far in the future. For aware datetime instances, the return value is computed as dt minus datetime 1970 1, tzinfo is equal to timezone.utc dot total seconds. There is no method to obtain the POSIX timestamp directly from a naive datetime instance representing UTC time. If your application uses this convention and your system time zone is not set to UTC, you can obtain the POSIX timestamp by supplying tzinfo is equal to timezone.utc. Timestamp is equal to dt.replace tzinfo is equal to timezone.utc.timestamp, or by calculating the timestamp directly. Timestamp is equal to dt minus datetime 1970, 1, slash time delta seconds is equal to 1. Datetime dot weekday. Return the weekday of the week as an integer where Monday is 0 and Sunday is 6. The same as self.date.weekday. See also ISO weekday. Datetime.iso weekday. Return the day of the week as an integer where Monday is 1 and Sunday is 7. The same as self.date.iso weekday. See also weekday ISO calendar. Date.iso calendar. Return a named tuple with three components: year, week, and weekday. The same as self.date.iso calendar. Datetime.iso format. Separator is equal to t, time spec is equal to auto. Return a string representing the date and time in ISO 8601 format. YYYY hyphen mm hyphen DD capital T HH hyphen mm hyphen SS dot FFF if microsecond is not 0. YYYY hyphen mm hyphen DD hyphen THH hyphen mm hyphen SS if microsecond is 0. If UTC offset does not return none, a string is appended given the UTC offset. YYY hyphen mm hyphen DD hyphen THH colon mm colon SS dot FFF plus HH colon mm colon SS dot FFF if microsecond is not 0. And if microsecond is 0, this portion is removed. Examples: from date time import date time zone. clear Python 3. From datetime import datetime time zone datetime.iso format 20190518 T 151708.132263 datetime tz info 20195185181517 tz info is equal to time zone dot utc dot is iso format like this. The optional argument separator default T is one character separator placed between the date and time portions of the result. For example, from datetime import tz info. Let's use in IDE. So example, I use the same file. Let's do it. Time import datetime and time zone. Close this one, terminate, and then class tztinfo, a time zone with an arbitrary constant minus 06 a colon 39 offset. Diff utc offset self dt, return time delta hours is equal to minus 6 minutes is equal to 39. So yeah, and then date time this, let's print tz, print this date time 20012 tz info is equal to tz, call tz dot iso format tz info, and then utc coefficient self dot dt, return time delta hours. Okay, run. And if we print this without that, tz tz time zone is equal to utc time zone dot utc. Let's see, these two are different, right? The optional argument time spec specifies the number of additional components of the time to include. The default is auto. It can be one of the following: auto, same as seconds if microsecond is 0, same as microseconds otherwise. Hours, include the hour in 2 digit HH format. Minutes, include hour and minute in HH colon mm format. Seconds, include hour, minute and second in HH colon mm colon ss format. Milliseconds, include full time but truncate fractional second part to milliseconds. HH colon mm colon ss colon sss format. Microseconds, include full time in HH colon mm colon ss colon dot FFFFFF format. Note: exclude time components are truncated. Excluded time components are truncated, not rounded. Value error will be raised on an invalid time spec argument. From datetime import datetime.now.iso format. Time spec is equal to minutes. Let's do it. Time spec is equal to minutes. HH colon mm. So 10, 15 only. And dt is equal to date time this, okay, and dt.iso format time spec microseconds. Print time spec is equal to microseconds. and run 12:30:59.000:000. Datetime dot underscore underscore str underscore underscore method. For a datetime instance, the strd is equivalent to d dot iso format blank. Datetime dot ctime, return a string representing the date and time. From datetime, import datetime. Datetime whole datetime dot ctime. Print datetime dot ctime. Wednesday, December 4, 2030, 40, 2002. The output string will not include time zone information regardless of whether the input is aware or naive. D.ctime is equivalent to time.ctime, time.mktime, d.time tuple. On platforms where the native ctime function which time.ctime invokes but which datetime.ctime does not invoke conforms to the C standard. Datetime.strftime format. Return a string representing the date and time controlled by an explicit format string. See also strftime and strptime behavior. Datetime.iso format. Datetime underscore format underscore underscore format. Same as datetime.strftime. This makes it possible to specify a format string of a datetime object in formatted string literals, and when using str.format, see also strftime and strptime behavior and datetime.iso format. Examples of usage datetime. Examples of working with datetime objects. From datetime, example underscore datetime working. From datetime, import datetime, date, time zone. Using datetime dot combine, d is equal to date, t is equal to time, datetime dot combine. So date is equal to date 2005-7-14, time is equal to 12:30. Use the method combine, datetime dot combine dt, datetime dot combine dt. Run 2005-7-14-12:30:00. Using datetime.now, print datetime dot now will print 2024 117 10 59 28.046119. Datetime dot now time zone UTC, now using UTC time zone. So using UTC time zone, milliseconds plus 00 as 0.00. Using datetimes dot strp time. dt datetime dot strp time. Print dt datetime dot strp time 21/11/06/16/30, comma strp time. Date string format. Format is percentage %d slash percentage %m per slash percentage %y percentage %h colon percentage %m. Print dt 2006 11 21 16 16 30 00. Hash hash run error. Run error. Using datetime.time tuple to get tuple of all attributes. Using datetime.time tuple. dt is equal to dt.time tuple. dt.time tuple. For it in tt, print it. 2006 11 21 16 30 0 1 3 2 5 minus 1. Date in ISO format. I see date in ISO format. IC is equal to dt.iso calendar for it in IC. Print it. Run. So 2006 47 2. Format formatting a date time. So formatting a date time. dt.strf time this dt.strf time percentage a comma percentage d dot percentage capital B percentage capital Y percentage capital I percentage capital M P. Tuesday 21 November 2006 0430 p.m. Right. The example below defines a TZ info subclass capturing time zone information for Kabul, Afghanistan, which used +4 UTC until 1945 and then +4:30 UTC thereafter. From date time, import. Okay, copy this whole program and run it. Example date time example. So here date time Kabul TZ info. Kabul used +4 until 1945 when they moved to +4:30. UTC moved at is equal to date time 1940 44 12 33 20 20. TZ info is equal to time zone dot UTC. Diff UTC self DT. If DT dot year less than 1945, return time delta hours 4. Else if 1945 1100 less than equal to dt dot time tuple colon 5 less than 1945 11030. An ambiguous imaginary half hour range representing a fold in time due to the shift from +4 to +4:30. If dt falls in the imaginary range, use fold to decide how to resolve. See PEP 495. Return time delta hours is equal to 4 minutes is equal to 30 if dt dot fold else 0. Else return time delta hours 4 minutes 30. From UTC self DT follows same validations as in datetime.tz info. If not is instance dt comma datetime raise type error from UTC requires a datetime argument. If dt.tz info is not self raise value error dt.tz info is not self. A custom implementation is required from UTC as the input to this function is a datetime with UTC values but with a TZ info set to self. See datetime.as time zone or from timestamp. If dt dot replace tz info is equal to timezone dot utc greater than self dot utc moved at return dt plus time delta hours is equal to 4 minutes is equal to 30. Else return dt dot time delta hours is equal to 4. Def dast self dt Kabul does not observe daylight saving time. Return time delta 0. Def tz name self dt. If dt greater than self dot utc move return +4 colon 30. Else return +04. Usage of Kabul TZ from Mu. TZ is equal to Kabul TZ. Date time before the change. Let's do it. So, date time before the change. From 1900, 11, 21, 16, 30. 4, 0, 0, 0, 0. Date time after change. dt dot 4:30. Convert date time to another time zone. Print d print dt3 6 16 8:30 plus dt2 print dt2 plus 4:30, right? Print dt2 is equal to dt3, true.